Folks, college campuses are getting out of control. We all know that they're becoming very unsafe and uncivil spaces. This is why the UPenn president has stepped down, and Harvard University president Claudine Gay is being pressured to step down precisely because of incidents like this. This was on the Harvard campus just yesterday, I believe this was. This is certainly from this week. This video is fairly new. This is from Middle East Eye, tweeted this out. Let's take a look at an example of harassment on college campuses.
Between you and people who wanted to murder you. Hi, camera. Thank you for walking through neighborhoods and making families feel unsafe with your terrorist scarf.
Palestinians felt pretty unsafe when Israelis occupied their country,
I'm glad you're so proud of the slaughtering of civilians.
I'm not.
Okay, now I'm going to set this up a little better because obviously what happened here, this woman was walking through Harvard campus with a keffiyeh, the scarf, the headscarf on, and she obviously didn't expect to be harassed in this way, so she didn't have the camera on until she realized what was going on. So that's why it's missing a little bit of context there. But she turns the camera on when she sees that this white woman is following her. There was a phrase that our friend Nick Cruz coined on the Post-Duopoly show last night: Zionism is Karenism. And that applies here. That was before we saw this video.
This is some hardcore Karenism.
This is some hardcore Karenism.
Well, and I promise you, this woman had the black square during the George Floyd protest.
Oh, yeah.
She hashtagged Black Lives Matter. I promise you this woman did.
Love is love, all that shit. Yeah. Yep. This is, according to Middle East Eye and the tweet that came from this, which has 15 million views. So I have seen it confirmed by two sources now because I didn't want to name a name unless I felt confident. But according to Middle East Eye, this is Eve Gerber chasing this woman down. She's the wife of Jason Furman, who is a professor at Harvard University and a former Obama aide. Man, those Obama aides really on a roll between Seldowitz.
They really are.
Yeah, between Seldowitz and this guy.
Yeah, you had the one over at Amazon who came up with the strategy of smearing
Jay Carney.
Chris Smalls, Jay Carney, as ignorant and uneducated.
All right, so now that we know the full context, let's watch this again. And again, it's good that it's subtitled. The sound is a little off because thankfully the woman is far enough behind her to the point where she wasn't a threat beyond that.
And just the arrogance to high camera, like what? I mean, that is Karenism. The arrogance of that. Like what? You didn't think she was going to throw this up on social media and you think you can just behave this way? That's what I'm saying. These Zionists, they live in such a bubble. They just live in their own world, and they've been able to push this notion that anyone who opposes them is a Nazi. I mean, that's at the core of this. That's what makes these people think they can get away with this.
Yep.
Because they have been indoctrinated from childhood to see anyone who opposes Zionism as a Nazi. So who's going to judge you harshly for confronting a Nazi, right? That's what's going on in her mind here.
Exactly. All right, so now that we have that context, we'll play this one more time.
Between you and people who wanted to murder you. Hi, camera.
Yep, there she is. Okay.
Thank you for walking through neighborhoods and making families feel unsafe with your terrorist scarf.
Palestinians felt pretty unsafe when Israelis occupied their country,
I'm glad you're so proud of the slaughtering of civilians.
I'm not.
For wearing a keffiyeh. These are the enlightened liberals, right?
Yep.
She's wearing a headscarf. And for that, she gets harassed, and it is assumed that she supports the murder of civilians. If you display an Israeli flag on your lawn or an Israeli bumper sticker on your car or an Israeli lapel pin, or as we saw on the Post-Duopoly show last night, the cartoonish example of the woman with the Israeli dress from head to toe, it can be safely assumed at this point that you support the murder of civilians. Because Israel has now killed almost 20 times the number of civilians that were killed on October 7th. In fact, it's likely much more than that. And so who should be on the hook for supporting the murder of civilians here? The woman wearing a headscarf, or the woman chasing her down and harassing her, making the worst assumptions about her because of her because of what she's wearing, right? It can be safely assumed that this Eve Gerber supports what Israel's doing. That's why she was so offended by the headscarf. So you support the murder. You support the mass murder of civilians. That's why I say you have to be very, very harsh on these people, rhetorically, obviously. Nonviolent always. Call them for what they are. They support mass murder. You have no qualms about saying that at all. Richie Torres, before he blocked me, I let him know as many times as I could before he blocked me, you full-throatedly support the mass murder of children. That's not an exaggeration. There's nothing unfair about that interpretation.
Well, there really needs to be, if she's connected to Harvard in any way, this story needs to be blown up. It needs to be examined. They showed that woman who was in the Yiddish department last night, who was, when we were on the post-duopoly show, ranting and raving about how our duty here is to basically, she didn't use, I don't think she used the word propaganda, but that's basically what she was saying.
Make us look good. That's what she said.
Yeah, they fight the military fight. It's our job to enlist in the fight of words here. Give them 2 or 3 years the way they give military service there. This woman has a fucking position at Harvard. This is really just exposing the rot at the core of the system, and it's exposing this hypocrisy of the liberal class. That's why this is so damaging to their entire political project and why they're flailing around so hard. They've exposed themselves as the hypocrites they've always been. They never cared about colonization. They never cared about black lives. They never cared about any of this shit. It was all a virtue signal. It was all a way of asserting their superior tastes and ethics over the MAGA people, right? The unwashed masses, the deplorables. That's all it ever was for them. As soon as they are faced, I said last night on post-duopoly, and there was some psycho in the chat who misinterpreted it. I said, they only want you focused on slavery from the past. They don't want you focused on things in the present. Of course, I didn't mean by that that we should forget about that or that's unimportant. But I think it's very revealing of an agenda. If you care so much about the evils of slavery, we live in a world where we have more slaves than we have ever had in the history of the world. Do you see any of these people organizing to help the actual slaves who are actually alive now? It's all a grift. It's all fake. They don't actually care about social justice in the past, which is where they want to entirely direct your attention. And they don't care about it in the present, which is why that's the only place they want to litigate it. They do not want to litigate those things in the present because it's going to cost them something. These plantation owners from the 1850s, they're dead. They're dead. They're not going to come for you. They're not going to come after you. You start going after slave owners today, man, some of those slave owners, they have slaves working for their corporations, manufacturing goods that come over to the United States. Now you're getting into international relationships. Now you're
conflict
getting into
diamonds. You ever hear of a conflict diamond?
You're getting into exactly.
Is?
Now you're really fucking with people who are alive, and they have money, and they have power, and they can come for you. And that is why you will never hear these people talk about this. And the way that they are reacting to a real case of modern day genocide, of modern day apartheid, it tells you everything you need to know about what these issues have ever been for them. They have only been an opportunity to promote themselves socially. They have never actually given a fuck about these issues, because as soon as you got an opportunity to do something about something that's happening now, in the present tense, not historically, now, look at how they behave. Look at this. Brown lives don't matter now. They don't matter now. You're gonna verbally assault this poor girl. I feel so bad for this girl. Like, you can hear in her voice, like, the plaintiveness of her response, how hurt she is.
Well, because she's so powerless on that campus now.
Of course.
Because you got all these oligarchs threatening to destroy the campus if they don't take the side of the woman who's hounding her for wearing a headscarf.
Please clap.